Did Chrissy just admit on live television that she had married someone else while Jim Jones sat there in complete disbelief? Nobody anticipated it, nor the host, nor the audience, and most definitely not Jim. Chrissy was at ease, grinning and laughing for a moment. The following time, she unleashed the kind of bomb that ruins families. Jim and I were already married, but not formally. Hold on, what? Jim's face was absolutely dripping with blood. People believed it to be a prank. The creator cut to advertisement, but the harm has already been done. This was not staged. There was no plot here. This was a real-life treachery that was made public. Additionally, Jim. He appeared to be having trouble breathing as he sat there blinking. Since then, the internet has been on fire. This secret husband, who is he? Why did Chrissy lie for so long? What does this mean for Jim, who waited more than 10 years to marry her? It's not just him. This entire issue is boiling over, and I assure you that it will soon flow everywhere. Don't blink, because everything they've ever built could be destroyed by what occurs next. He believed he understood everything. They were the legacy, the love, and the commitment. Believed to be untouchable. However, Jim Jones was struck by a betrayal so savage and public that it left the entire country in shock when the cameras began to roll and the truth began to emerge via cracked grins and side glances on national television. The room was frozen. It was evident in his eyes. His jaw twitched. The world watched in silence as a man realized his eternal just vanished on live television. Chrissy didn't pull a quick one. Sis ran. While Jim was yelling, "We married in spirit," this woman was legally getting married. Something else in the background. The worst part was that Jim and the rest of us found out. There was no prior notice, no, "Hey babe, we need to talk." And all of a sudden, there was a live broadcast, a scandal exposed, and a man totally taken by surprise in front of millions of people. Look, you all recall their difficult past, don't you? Twitter was in a chokehold due to the love and hip-hop proposal, the engagement that ended in divorce. Years of back and forth, split-ups and reconciliations, whispers of promises in studios, and disputes with wine in dimly lit dining establishments. However, this raised the bar for betrayal. This is what actually happened. Chrissy has been speaking to someone else for months, according to sources who have been whispering like they're afraid for their life. Nor innocent direct messages, nor even lighthearted flirtation. We're talking about burner phones, encrypted messages, private jet flights under false identities, camel at meals, Turks, and the complete spy movie package. And you know what? The man to whom she is allegedly married is not your typical regular guy. He has a connection, quiet money, industry power, the kind that creeps in the shadows and makes people vanish from the tabloids. Chrissy, though, remained composed, still walking the red carpet with Jim and grinning at events as if nothing were wrong. In the meanwhile, the she had already filed the paperwork for her covert wedding, allegedly signed off in Puerto Rico under her maiden name in order to evade media attention. Not even her closest girls were aware. "I thought she was just getting a business license," a pal blurted out. "Baby, no. It was a certificate of marriage. Jim, too, was like a devoted soldier. She is out here protecting her identity. We can demonstrate our love without a piece of paper." Just last month, he informed one interviewer. Throughout that entire article, he was dismissing. It was already signed by someone else. This is when things get messy. The disaster on live television. They were both scheduled for a panel. A reunion episode was recorded in Los Angeles. The producers were aware. The network was aware. And they allowed it to occur. A fresh approach to the discussion. The year's top-secret celebrity marriages were featured in a special episode. Before a hazy picture appears on the television, everyone is smiling and enjoying champagne. Beside a man who isn't Jim, Chrissy is dressed in white. There was silence in the room. Jim's face, precious, bewildered, astonished, then shattered. "What is this?" he muttered. He kept turning away from the camera as if someone had to explain, saying, "Yo, what is this?" Chrissy froze. She remained silent and didn't even blink. Simply sat there with icy eyes, as though she wanted him to learn this. The internet doesn't sleep, as you are all aware. Chrissy Married became popular in a matter of minutes. Blogs took off. On Reddit, a grainy but sufficiently clear video of the ceremony was leaked. There was a voice in the background that sounded uncannily like her mother applauding. She was even involved. "Y'all played with my life for views," Jim said as he walked off the scene, tossing his microphone across the floor. He was right, darling, but let's go back a little. Because Chrissy was planning while Jim was out here promoting his new album and discussing loyalty on podcasts. One insider, "I gave that man 20 years of my life. I deserve a man who follows through," she allegedly said to them. Mate, the math is right, because when you give it some serious thought, 20 years, one proposal, no marriages. Perhaps she was right. However, the execution was really brutal. Not to be forgotten is Nancy, also known as Mama Jones, Jim's mother. "I've never liked Chrissy. From the beginning," she said, "that girl is too slick." Mama Jones is currently bursting champagne on Facebook Live as if she had won the lottery, exclaiming, "Told y'all she was no, oh honey, Chrissy's new man is already making moves." The petty is generational. She was seen a few days after the wedding was made public, wearing a diamond anklet and a brand new ring while aboard his yacht off the coast of St. Bart's. At last, the caption on her Instagram story is free. "Free, sweetheart. You just tossed 20 years in the trash and referred to it as freedom." But hold on, the temperature drops. It was said that Jim had a genuine surprise planned. 2 weeks prior to the live broadcast reveal, he had been preparing a proposition of his own. Yes. Rumor has it that Jim hired a private choir, booked a lavish resort in the Maldives, brought in her best friends, and even selected revealing a 10-carat ring that would make any rapper envious. In order to make up for lost time and solidify their story, he wanted to do it big. And that ring is currently gathering in a drawer somewhere. Regret and dust. Jim's inner group is furious. "Imagine giving your all to someone who is married to someone else the whole time," one of his lads wrote in a since-deleted tweet. Time. Sick planet. No lies found. But here's the worst part. Nothing is being denied by Chrissy. She has actually been like tweets that claim she completed the necessary tasks. Additionally, she stated unequivocally in her most recent interview with a dubious gossip blog, "Sometimes you have to rescue yourself, even if it breaks a few hearts." A few, girl. A man's entire soul was broken by you. Fans are also split. She is referred to as a queen by some, for making her own decisions. Some claim she is a skilled manipulator, chilly and cunning. The timeline is a combat zone. Theories on TikTok. Deep digs on Instagram. Both of them are being dragged to hell and back by Twitter threads. Jim waited too long. Now she's gone. Simple math, read one widely shared comment. She was checked, stated another. Out for years. He simply didn't see it coming, but now we're wondering whether anyone did, or if this was all part of Chrissy's strategy to keep the world guessing, while covertly altering her own conclusion. In any event, one thing is certain. The game has changed. Jim is no longer the player either. He is the one who was played, and then, just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. On national television, poor, naive Jim Jones steps right into a trap. We are discussing cameras. Rolling, the audience is live, the studio lights are hot, and the tea is ready. Some claim that the producers were fully aware of what they were doing. Some even assert that Chrissy planned the entire scheme through the network. However, we can be certain that Jim's entire life began to go apart the moment he sat down in that interview chair. It started with a straightforward query. "What's new between you and Chrissy, Jim?" "Nah, we still figuring things out." "That's my lady, though," he said, chuckling and appearing perplexed. "The internet blew up, baby. That's wifey, wifey, wifey." An hour prior, pictures of Chrissy at a wedding were uploaded on an anonymous blog, which caused Twitter to go into cardiac arrest. Put on clothing. Not outdated, not appropriate. A real wedding gown leaving a Miami courtroom with an unidentified man whose hand was unmistakably not Jim's, but whose face was blurry. Furthermore, let's not even pretend that the dates coincided. Chrissy is shown getting married in Florida just as Jim is on set, declaring to the world that he still has her heart. Documents with a whole different man. What on earth is happening in this BET soap opera? Let's discuss that man now. At first, nobody knew who he was. At the very least, not until the involvement of TikTok. He was seen in a grainy video getting into a Rolls-Royce while holding Chrissy's bouquet. This is where things get juicy, though. One user reduced the speed of the video. Did I notice the tattoo on the man's neck after doing some CSI-style zooming? Boom. Identity disclosed. Andre Fields is his name. A real estate tycoon from Miami. Had a horrible tendency of stealing ladies from other people. Are you curious about the true kicker? Jim and Andre were formerly pals. Yes, there are pictures and receipts from 2017 that show Jim and Andre enjoying champagne like brothers while hanging out at a Wynwood club. One even has Chrissy seated in between them. Either Chrissy cheated her spouse with one of his old friends, or this whole affair has been simmering for years. It's foul in any case. Additionally, as the TV interview went on, the makers were aware of a problem. The way they continued to press Jim was indicative of it. Have you recently seen Chrissy? Do you converse every day? Has a ring been made yet? You could sense something wasn't right, even though the man appeared perplexed and was attempting to maintain composure by laughing off the odd energy. Then suddenly, they struck him with it. The video is shown after the host says, "Well, we've got some breaking news footage coming in. We think you should take a look." Jim's grin fades. He moves in the seat. "Wait, that's Chrissy?" the man exclaims, literally grabbing the microphone, and there is complete quiet. In the studio, you could hear a pin drop. In front of a clerk's office, Chrissy was seen embracing Andre in the video. Confetti was present. Bridesmaids were present. "Kiss the bride." Someone in the background even yelled, and they did. Jim's expression went cold. The man appeared he had taken a punch to the chest. "Yo, this ain't real. This got to be fake, right?" he asked, trying not to lose his cool. The host remained silent, simply gazed, and the camera focused on Jim's eyes as they began to well up with tears. Social media went crazy. Comments poured in from the second. Not Jim learning on live TV that his girl got married. She had had enough of him. Simply put, he was unwilling to see it. This is the reason you don't squander 19 years on a possibility. Of course, people were picking sides. She had every right to move on, according to Team Chrissy. He was teasing her. For many years, she asked him to marry her. What woman is left hanging after doing that? Team Jim, meanwhile, claimed she mistreated him. No caution, no chat, and now you're secretly married to another guy. It was being devoured by the internet like Sunday brunch. Let's not overlook the leaks, though. Yes, as soon as the interview was broadcast, leaks began to come in. Audio of Chrissy discussing her wedding plans was leaked weeks ago by someone from Chrissy's camp, purportedly a bridesmaid who was cut off at the last minute. She declares in the video, "I'm done waiting for a man who can't make decisions." Andre is aware of his desires. "I will no longer explain myself." Whoa! Now the betrayal struck differently. This did not happen on its own. This wasn't a fast-paced elopement in Vegas. Chrissy had calculated and planned this. She was aware just what she was doing. She didn't simply move on. She purposefully scheduled her new marriage to degrade Jim, with the cameras on, but why? Some claim it's retaliation. Some claim it's control. However, one notion is making the rounds in the fictitious Reddit community. All of this was for a show. Deal. Yes. According to rumors, Chrissy and Andre signed a contract with a new network for a reality program called New Wife, Old Life, and her producers wanted the debut episode to be shocking. What could be more startling than a surprise wedding on live television that completely destroys your ex's reputation? Jim also failed to return home following the interview. No. She really did that to me? She really aired me out like that," he reportedly yelled during a furious phone call with his management after storming off set and pacing the parking lot for an hour, kicking the curb and tossing his hat. "It's always the ones you ride for who stab you the deepest," he allegedly muttered to a camera guy. As for Chrissy, she has just posted a picture of her hand sporting a huge wedding ring on her grid with the description, "Finally, cue internet meltdown." Jim's fans were livid. She hasn't tweeted or shared an Instagram story. Chrissy's supporters clapped back, saying, "This woman used him for clout, and now she's flexing like she won the lottery." She waited for 20 years. Secondly, she ought to be happy. New footage from the wedding itself surfaced as the internet was arguing, thanks to a server who worked there leaking it. In the video, Chrissy raises a toast to deciding to let go of the past. "For once I was myself." Everyone applauded. The camera switched to a clock-shaped cake as Andre planted a kiss on her cheek. Dead. Simply dead. Normally impartial blogs were unable to resist. Chrissy marries Jim Jones's former friend while he still calls her wifey on national TV. Ultimate plot twist or petty revenge, was one headline. Even though there was turmoil, it was just the beginning. Because Jim's next move was unexpected. Social media became a battlefield as soon as Chrissy left the stage. Hashtags took off. Just pray for Jim or Chrissy revealed Chrissy cheated. However, no one anticipated Chrissy's marriage. It wasn't only a low-key private matter. No, the man in question was a former VH1 producer. Yes, the same network that popularized Jim and Chrissy. Here's the worst part. Let's refer to this man as Rico. Supposedly the one who persuaded Jim to pop the question to Chrissy in front of the camera. Let's talk about betrayal in full circle. One crew member who wished to remain nameless claimed that Rico and Chrissy became close. While post-work is underway, very near. We all witnessed it, but we assumed it was just flirtation in Hollywood. None of us anticipated that she would wed the man while Jim's name is still hanging off. Imagine Jim sitting in his dressing room, still in shock from the TV onslaught. Ain't no way this real man," he murmurs, his hands on his head, chain swinging. The cameras were turned off. However, someone leaked a voice message in it, which is where things get messy. Jim can be heard whispering to a close buddy, "What does loyalty look like now then? She is now the wife of the same man who used to pour me coffee on set, despite the fact that I built her and gave her everything." The pal replies, "Bro, she'd hit the world at that point. You just don't want to see it. It's been gone." This was not an impulsive betrayal. There was a subtle, gradual distancing taking place. Jim was the last to know what had been going on behind the scenes for years. In the meantime, Chrissy was seen boarding a private plane to St. Farts with Rico, her purported new spouse. And if you felt that wasn't good, you know what? She was sporting the same diamond bracelet that Jim had given her following his 2018 music comeback performance. That small detail. Yes, it sent supporters into a frenzy. Not her on vacation with Rico wearing Jim's jewelry. One tweet cried out, "That's fill-in behavior." However, it didn't stop there. Tamika, Chrissy's close friend, went live from her hotel room and spilled more tea than anyone could have imagined. "Not even half of it is known to you," Tamika started. "Chrissy has been excluded from that partnership. I'm not going to die waiting for Jim to marry me," she told me 2 years ago. "I'm a marry myself or someone who genuinely desires to." She obviously meant it. However, Jim is no longer keeping silent. A mysterious Instagram story appeared on his profile. White writing on a black background. All that glitter isn't love. Devotion over affection. Keep an eye on the people you build with. Moreover, millions of followers immediately crowded his comment area, pleading for clarification. However, the harm had already been done. This is where the narrative takes a perilous turn. Jim's team is allegedly requesting a restraining order against Rico rather than Chrissy. According to sources, Jim thinks this was manipulation rather than simple betrayal. One representative said, "He was in our circle. Rico lived close to his family. He destroyed something sacred by using his access. Furthermore, Rico's ex-girlfriend, yes, he had one, appeared out of nowhere with voicemails, receipts, direct messages, and even a grainy picture of Rico and Chrissy on what appeared to be a hotel balcony." This went beyond simple dishonesty. Plotting was what this was, and right now it was being exposed. The most devastating event, though, was perhaps when Jim's mother, Nancy, also known as Mama Jones, made her first public remarks. She spoke with anger in her voice and tears in her eyes. "I told my son years ago, Chrissy, ain't it? She doesn't care about our family, and now she's embarrassed him on TV. I hope she likes that man," she remarked, since she recently lost a true one. Enthusiasts, particularly hip-hop enthusiasts and old-school lovers, came together to support her. "We were informed via Mama Jones bin," one admirer commented. She always saw through Chrissy's charade, but her supporters were clapping back as the internet was criticizing her. One of Chrissy's stylists tweeted something sleazy, "And you're all furious that a mature woman—" Maybe if Jim had signed that marriage license 10 years ago, none of this would have happened. Get over it. She made her own decision. The war went on. It was being devoured by blogs. Breakdowns were being performed by YouTubers. Even previous cast members began to weigh in. Smith Yondandy and a karma spins like a DJ. "Hope everyone's watching the set," the now-deleted tweet said. Insiders at VH1 asserted that the whole mess was a part of a failed pitch for a relaunch. Yes, it is correct. Rumor has it that Chrissy and Jim were asked to make a dramatic comeback to television. A disastrous phony vow renewal and a covert wedding treachery. However, it became genuine at some point. Was everything planned out? Or did the script just not match reality? And this is an additional layer. According to a document that has surfaced, Chrissy altered her legal last name few weeks before to the TV taping. Guess whose last name she adopted? Yes, Rose. One thing is demonstrated by this. Actually, Jim was the last to find out. He was caught off guard not only in a figurative sense, but also legally, emotionally, and professionally. The question on everyone's mind now: what comes next? Will Jim make a comeback with a diss track? Will Rico and Chrissy conduct an interview? Will the creators of Love and Hip Hop decide to make this a limited series? No one is aware. However, there is little doubt that the streets are now. The blogs are boiling, and the truth is more repulsive than anyone could have imagined. And Jim is the center of attention right now, because the subsequent action will make all the decisions. Keep an eye out, because this scandal is still ongoing.